Caw.
Welcome to Inside Vaping, your weekly resource for vaping news. Our show airs live on Tuesday nights from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time via YouTube live stream right here at youtube.com/InsideVaping. The show consists of two distinct segments. The first hour being something you could watch with your grandma sitting next to you on the couch. If you choose to participate in the second uncensored half of the show, you may join us exclusively on the Quest Vaping Network at www.vapors.tv/QuestVaping, and you may need some psychological guidance in the near future. As always, I'm joined by Ed TheGreen and James Martin. Gentlemen, how are you this evening? James, I'll start with you. How was your week?
My week was pretty good. I gotta say, I got some vape mail this week. I actually had a pretty good week at work. This is the Bat Box. This is a DNA 40 mod, and I'm really loving the DNA 40s. Obviously, we've talked about this every week here for the last couple of weeks. That is a twin 18650 box. Excellent device. I got some juice. Somebody gave me some juice to try, and I didn't want to like it, Dane, because of the name. It's called the Serial Killer. It's got this graffiti on the bottle here. And I've got a shot of the bottle. Let me see if I can pull this up here. So this is the flavor profile for those of you who are interested. This is by 9 South Vapes, and it's pretty good stuff. I'm pretty impressed by it. It's definitely a dripping blend, 90 VG, so pretty thick. This is one juice that I heard about that I wasn't particularly impressed with. The White Girl E-Juice. Now, I guess this one is supposed to smell like pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks. So I don't think I'm going to be getting that one.
No, I can see why. That's a pretty bad name. When you first told me about that earlier today, I was like, really? Is that for real? I thought it was a joke.
So we've also got Ed here, of course, and we have a special guest tonight who I'm going to be introducing a little bit later. Football was crazy this week. I know this is supposed to be a show about vaping, but doggone, I know, Dane, you were watching that with interest.
Yes, I was. And a standing ovation for my New England Patriots this week for beating the bejesus out of the Chicago Bears. I had to throw that in.
Do you have a response for that, Ed?
We didn't put up any kind of fight. Yeah. I can't. There's nothing I could say. I mean, to get beat that bad, come on.
I did prepare a short slideshow of some very pertinent information and images specifically for this. So here you have just basically some information about the Chicago Bears and their organization right now. And then you also have the 85 Bears, which they really like to talk about. Those Bear fans love to bring up that 1985.
Yeah, they do. And I'll tell you, that's all I ever get is, we beat you in 85. I'm like, it's not even in this millennium.
Yes, and of course, Jay Cutler did throw an opening pitch at the Cubs game. That was pretty interesting when he did that.
Oh, wow.
And he was sacked while doing it.
And
intercepted.
Yeah, I hope you guys get a quarterback someday, because I think that's really gonna help quite a bit. and this is our favorite. I don't know. This might be a little racy for most people, but of course.
Yeah, this one is my personal
favorite. Anyway, it's all in good fun. The Colts also took a horrible beating from the terrible towel-wielding Bumblebees from Detroit, which didn't make me particularly happy as a Colts fan. But that's enough about football. Ed, you spent the last weekend in Virginia at VaperCon 5. How did that go?
That was fun. As usual, seeing old friends. I've been going to VaperCon since the first one in 2011. I missed last year. I was out with a back injury.
Just like one of those running backs, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, this year, the event, it's in the same building and it's in the same hall. It's not very big, but VaperCon hasn't, from what I can tell, hasn't grown a lot from last year to this year, from what I could tell.
Yeah.
which is almost a good thing because it is a community meet. It's not what's the new shiny. It's where's my old friends.
Yeah, yeah, and it's always been one of those social events, and that's what I love about actually both of the Vape TV events that they put on. Vape Bash and then VaperCon. They're great for that. I know you got some cool stuff. We've got a video that we're going to play a little bit later on here from VaperCon. So we'll get into that a little bit later here. One of the things I did want to follow up on, though, is our friend Stanley did make a new video, and we've got to play that video now. So let me go ahead and pull that up here.
I'm Stanley the Viking. Will you be an angel and help save a chronic cloud chaser? Every day, harmless vapors are dragged into the senseless and degrading world of cloud chasing, and they're crying out for our help. Please call the number on your screen and join the Chronic Cloud Chasers Coalition. For just $250 a month, the price of a shiny metal tube, you could help rescue cloud chasers from foggy hotel rooms and pointless cloud competitions everywhere. Join now and you'll receive a welcome kit with the photo of a recovering cloud chaser that's been given a second chance.
Up stomp. I'll tell you what, that was a brilliant piece of video right there. And I'm saying that as a cloud chaser.
I never get sick of those. I could watch those over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That was good.
Okay, so tonight I'm very pleased to introduce our special guest for the evening. We're glad to have Mr. Anthony Brancato from Nixteria JuicyVapor. Anthony was a wardrobe advisor for Janet Jackson and has written no less than 42 books, none of them published. He's widely known as one of the funniest people in his small neighborhood. How are you tonight, Anthony?
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. I'm good. How's everybody tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Excellent.
We're very happy to have you on the show. If you got any thoughts or want to weigh in on anything that we're talking about, just feel free to interject. There's no formality here. But let's get back to this past weekend at VaperCon. Ed, tell us a little bit about the experience. And I'm going to try to pull up this montage video here, which I don't think I had loaded properly. So this is going to be interesting.
Like I said, the experience of VaperCon is really getting back in touch with all the people that you talk to online all the time. It was just a lot of fun. I ate a lot of food.
Yeah.
I think I spent more money on food than I actually did on vaping stuff. Every time I get out there, I hook up with Cisco, Jeff, and Angie from Atomic Vapors. And a lot of times, well, it's sad, but I really miss Drew. This is the first event that I went to that Drew wasn't around, because if you had Drew and Cisco and Dino in the same room, one, you're not going to get a word in edgewise, and you're going to be laughing until your gut busts out, because they were just absolutely hilarious. So definitely miss Drew. We did have, I don't know if there's going to be any photos coming up in this montage, but Jeff from Atomic Vapors actually had a picture of Drew riding a rhino, or was it a hippo? Was it a hippo or a rhino? I can't remember which one it was. And that was very cool to see that there.
Yeah, we're watching a video right now, and I see there's quite a few vendors there too. Was there a pretty good turnout of vendors?
According to the site, I didn't count there, but there's supposed to be 29 there. 29. You know, old E-Liquid Planet has been there. Are they hearing stuff? Am I talking over voice because I can't hear anything?
No, there's no voice to it. This is just
okay.
B-roll,
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Good. Roar Vapor, which was once Rar Vapor, but legally had to change the name.
Yeah, and
seeing what?
They just showed Empire mods. They have some of those glass drip tips are fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
they
one
were
of the ones that I use
slick.
all the time.
Yeah, they were kind of slick. Just the tip, they had a new dripper top, which I'll show you in a few because it's right over there. Oh, I can probably reach it and not take my. Oh no, just about choked myself. Yeah, that was great.
Let's see when this is ending. So we've got a lot of B-roll left. Do you want me to pause this so you can show that tip, Ed?
I got it. It's coming out. It's coming out. There's J-Wraps. I wrapped my... Speaking of J-Wraps, I wrapped my... Oh, my lighting is wonderful.
Let me switch back over to you here.
My little ice stick.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have... Yeah. Top, bottom. It was $10 there. I don't know if it's $10 normally. Mm-hmm. But the great thing about buying it at VaperCon is they put it on for you.
Yeah, and just the tip, that one that you bought, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'd like to get one like that.
Look at that. I heard after I did being down here just outside of Bloomington, I'm in Lincoln right now, where Blow No Smoke is. And he heard that Just the Tip will have these, and they may be the same price as VaperCon, $25.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a good possibility of that. But it's so nice and smooth and.
That sounded dry. Was that dry?
No, it wasn't dry. I think the battery's been depleted.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to the video footage.
Let's
here,
get back
though.
to get back to that beautiful bean footage.
Let's see.
Well, this is going to help.
Yeah, there we go.
Vapro, almost nobody knows who they are because they are actually a distributor. They distribute to all the brick and mortars. Seeing big buyer there.
Yep.
Oop, there's Zen. Yeah. And then, of course, Mad Vapes has been there for years. I do miss Mark and Scott that they weren't there. Same thing with Nickwood. Either Scott or Adam, they weren't neither one were there. I was like, oh, guys, they're getting too big for their britches now. They won't even show up. What's that all about? What's that all about? I don't get it. Anthony's like, oh, I missed all this fun.
He's watching.
Yeah,
he's gonna live vicariously through your video clips, I guess.
I didn't have to work it.
You weren't gonna work it if you came with us, but that's okay. When did I take all this video? Oh, I believe I took this before the room opened. Yeah, I did. That's why you're not seeing really anyone in there right now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get to any of these tables. And there's when they opened up the doors, and everyone from the night before or the day before had their badges. They let them all in, and they did not start signing in new people until the doors opened, which I thought was a little weird.
Yeah.
I figured to start signing people in, but
how was the hotel this year? Were they fairly accommodating, or?
They're accommodating every year. Yeah. Every year, there's no problems. Right. Smoke alarm goes off, whatever's. The entire hotel is vapors, so really nobody
saw
complains.
par there.
Yeah. But there was a lot of drinking that went on. A little brawl. Police showed up. It wasn't a big deal, but they did. They showed up, And naked man running down the hallway.
It seems like that's a recurring theme.
Yeah, all I heard, I'm like, what do I hear out my hallway? And I look, and I hear somebody, and I see this naked guy running away. Thank God, running away. And I hear someone, he's got a sock on his wee wee.
I remember that staircase because I remember waiting in line for a very long time to get in.
Wow. See, and that's the thing is, I didn't.
Yeah.
The first on Friday, I was just at the start of the staircase where then it goes down and it turns.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 25 minutes before the doors open. So Friday it wasn't super busy.
Mm-hmm.
They had less than 1,000 people on Friday. And the only reason I know that is because they said you actually got a legitimate VaperCon badge. Only the first 1,000 people got them. And they still had, maybe like 50 to 100 badges left on the table ready to go out. So I would say 950-ish showed up on the first day. And I don't think that includes vendors, though.
Yeah.
I think vendors had maybe they didn't have I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, well, so it looks like it was a really good event. I mean, I'm glad you had fun. I'm definitely going to try to go next year, and hopefully, Anthony, you can go next year as well, because it'll be a lot of fun. We've got a couple things that we need to cover from last week. Of course, it seems like there's a continuing saga with cotton. So we have a new segment here. This is called This Week in Cotton News. Seriously.
And
what?
And right quick, if anyone has any questions, you can call in at 347
Yes, there you go.
327
Let's go ahead and
9172. I am screening the calls. You will talk to me first.
Yes, you get to talk to Ed. So finally, beauticians and hairdressers worldwide are beginning to relax now that the initial buying frenzy for rayon is over, but the Japanese cotton market is apparently still reeling from the impact of Vapor's buying power. So basically what we've got here is a screenshot from Kogan-Do Cotton Company here. Let me go ahead and pull this up. So this is from their website. Due to increased demand, we are currently limiting a maximum number of 1 pure cotton per order at this time. We apologize for the inconvenience. So that is Kogan-Do's website for their cotton products. There is a new champion in the market, unicorn hair. I don't know if anybody's tried this. I don't know, Green. It's kind of a ridiculous product, but maybe it works. They say it is heat-resistant vaping cotton made from natural wood fibers.
Oh, come on.
And folks, since we love the Urban Dictionary here at Inside Vaping, and if you followed the after show, of course it gets a little bit raunchy at times, but we're going to cover a PG-13 definition here. In reference to a human, non-unicorn, who possesses very long flowing hair, it is usually wavy or curly and moves around when walking like a horse prancing, most commonly found on Renaissance fair enthusiast and a gentleman on my block that wears velvet blazers daily. Or shorter versions may be found on business gents. So our friend Dwayne Green has unicorn-like hair. Business in the front, party in the back. So, Anthony, we wanted to talk to you about this Crystal Lake thing that's going on. And maybe you can fill us in on that a little bit. Let me go ahead and pull this up for people that don't know. So, talk to us a little bit about their ordinance or their proposal that they had.
They basically, we found out the day before they were going to have their meeting, which they didn't want us to know about. They want to ban the use of e-cigarettes in restaurants, public places, including vape shops.
Wow.
It's just insane.
Yeah, and I believe there's some other verbiage in there. I'm guessing that a lot of this kind of mimics what was done, in the downtown area of Chicago as well. I thought I saw something about apartment buildings and complexes. Maybe I'm confusing it with another article, because I know there was another area in Illinois, St. Charles. Let me see if I can find that here. St. Charles, Illinois is actually going to be changing some things to mimic the smoke-free policy of Chicago, basically mimicking exactly what they have in their ordinance, and up to the point of where they're going to be fining individuals as well. I think it's not less than $500, but a maximum of $1,000 per violation for smoking in public places. So, or for vaping in public places as well.
The thing with Chicago that was really neat that they did pass, though, was smoke shops and vape shops were excluded. What's the word I'm looking for? Help me out, guys. Exempt. So they were allowed to continue vaping in their stores, things like that. Crystal Lake, I think, just has real itching for people. They were like, well, why do you have a couch? Why do they all have to hang out? But one of the aldermen or the person on the board, they actually spoke up and says, why can't they do that? But we'll get into that later.
Yeah. So you guys, did you actually show up then? I think you were saying that you showed up. You mentioned it last week on the after show, but I know a lot of our audience here doesn't go to the after show. So if you can reiterate, how that played out for you, that would be helpful.
Sure. Let me start off with, you have to show up to the after show.
Yes. As long as you're okay with a little bit of obscene language here and there and Urban Dictionary readings.
No, I'm trying to think. Ask the question one more time. I'm sorry, because I was just so shocked nobody showed up.
Yeah, when you went to the Crystal Lake, the hearing or the business meeting, didn't you give them some information?
Yeah. I contacted. It actually started off with a vape shop called Vapor Place. Contacted me and got me in touch with a couple other shops, Vapor More, and there's a couple others. We were the only ones that showed up, but we only had, I think, we found out the day before. We put a game face on. Within 4 hours, we actually put together a portfolio with Clearstream from Flavor Art, a study from Dr. Why can't I ever say his name?
Farsalinos?
Farsalinos, thank you.
Sure.
I was about to hack his name pretty bad. But we put together how he did the test, how they took a clean room, put smokers in it, did the swipe test, and then how they cleaned that entire room, then did it with vapors. There was nothing with vapors. But, they were really trying to blindside it and push this bill through.
Sure.
We put out a bunch of stuff on Facebook, trying to get people, because I know how this goes. Everybody always is passionate about trying to support these things, but when it really comes down to going to wherever it's being held, usually the business owners come, and maybe a couple of vapors. Yeah. We packed the entire place. I was blown away of how many people came to support.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and that's kind of an unexpected outcome too, because I know, how much advance notice did you put out there? I mean, it wasn't that long, was it?
Less than 24 hours we put up.
Yeah, so that's a great response.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And that's something I told Anthony. That is the power of a vendor to get your customers engaged. You have a customer base. You have a customer list. And I'm sure that, he grew that even on Facebook. So just putting the post out there to come out reached so many customers. I think a lot of these vendors, if they use that power of their customers, a lot of these bills that get presented can be knocked down just by having the numbers of people show up.
Yeah. I agree. Dane, any thoughts?
Ed is absolutely right. The more people that come out, I think we're starting to see a tide turn a little bit with these things. Not necessarily, ground swells and huge victories and things like that, but there are other municipalities across the country that are actually voting these legislative things down. And the more people that show up and the more people that participate, the better our chances are of victory in the end. And I agree. If you hear about one and it's in your area, you really, really need to get out there and go to it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's nice to see that, in this case, Vapors organized and mobilized and showed up. because I know there's a lot of negative reports going on out there. A lot of people are saying, well, nobody's really interested. All they care about is that they are able to get their e-liquid, they're able to get their mods and batteries and supplies. And this shows that it really does make a difference. But again, the key takeaway there is it was a local vendor and its local customers. And Dane, you can attest to this. Those are the people that they're interested in hearing from.
Yep.
It's not necessarily the people that are traveling from another state and coming in.
That's correct.
Specifically.
Yep, that is absolutely correct. Especially here in Tempe, Arizona, before you gave your comments during the comment period, you were asked your name and your address, and they were particularly keen about hearing from only Tempe residents. People who were not Tempe residents weren't not heard. I mean, they listened to them as well, but they much rather preferred that you were actually from the city or town that was handling the legislation, and I think that's important as well. So, it's one thing to bring, the big groups out there like SPADA and Vista and AVA and all those things as well, because they certainly help in these instances, but it really matters more and has more of an impact from especially local business owners. Local business owners and local residents really make the difference there.
Sure.
So a question for Anthony. How many bottles of juice did you have to give away to get all those people to the hearing?
Strange enough, 0. It was great. And a lot of the other vendors that were there, a lot of my customers were their customers. I mean, it just brought everybody closer, which was really nice. It's sad that it had to happen like that, but some really good people out there, vendors and customers alike.
So we want to talk to you a little bit, Anthony, about basically your story, your company, things like that, for people who aren't familiar with JuicyVapor. And tell me how to pronounce the new name. It's Nixteria. It's just the way it looks, correct?
Nixteria. No, I'm kidding. It's Nixteria.
Tell us a little bit about your company. How long have you guys been in business now?
We started JuicyVapor at the end of 2008. We became LLC'd in 2010. And somewhere right around 2013, I was being sued over the name Juicy. Oh. And that went on for almost a little over a year. And what we learned right off the bat is Juicy and Vapor, or Vapor and Juicy, are very weak marks to run a business.
Yeah.
But they were unique to us, and we fought tooth and nail for it. At the end of the day, we agreed to disagree and go our own ways, and we changed our name to something that was strong and unusual and doesn't exist in the real world.
And
so,
I believe the first time I knew anything about Nixteria was when I was at the expo in Ann Arbor, and I saw your pimped out Prius with all the stickers, and I'm like, oh, that's the same company. That's JuicyVapor. That's their company now. But I ordered from JuicyVapor a long time ago, and I think it was, I liked Angry Birds. There were a couple juices that I liked that had very unique names. It seemed to me that you guys always had one of the largest selections of juice flavors of any online vendor. Exactly how many different e-liquids are sold on your site? I mean, you probably have to give me an estimate because there's so many.
I could easily do that. However, a new website's about to launch, and it was supposed to be today. The guy has kidney stones. He's in the hospital who's working on our website, so it's going to be probably another week. We took probably about 700 to 800 off the website. They just never sold. Yeah. They're available if anybody ever wants to. They can go, but I think we hit somewhere online over almost 3,000. I think it was like a little over 2,800.
Yeah.
Actually, at retail stores, though, it was over 3,000. Now we're focusing more into quality versus just the quantity. Like, how many bubble gums can you have? How many hookah flavors can you have? Yeah. I mean, hookah doesn't even sell, but, just to say I have it doesn't mean anything.
Right. Now, early on, a lot of your e-liquids contained additional food coloring. Obviously, some flavors, the premix contains food coloring. You can't do anything about that if it's in the flavorings. But what caused you to move away from using the additional coloring in your liquids? Was it customer feedback? Was it just, a personal thing?
Actually, it was neither of the two, because we liked making chocolate flavors and making it red and making people guess, or making it blue.
Yeah.
What really made us change our mind on it is I ran into someone in the community that says, well, I never have blue juice. I said, well, why is that? He goes, well, I'm allergic to it. We're like, wait a minute, really? And then we started talking to other people, and they were allergic to all different colors. So now if you go to our website, anything that has a color that I can't change, that I'm not actually changing the color, actually says this contains blah, 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 yellow number 5, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's great because, again, you're trying to pay attention to your customer base and their needs, and it's responsible to do that as a business as well. So your e-liquids are produced in a laboratory environment, or at least in an AMSA certified environment. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be correct.
Okay.
We're part of AMSA,
Okay.
and we continue to be part of AMSA.
Excellent. See, there's a lot of people now, since Russ had the discourse about acetylpropanol and diacetyl and things like that. So it's good to have a vendor on that actually can provide a certain level of transparency with things like that. So we definitely appreciate that. Now, what are some of your biggest sellers from your lineup?
Well, our number one, and it's been number one since we really created JuicyVapor, is ectoplasma.
Yeah.
We started that at the end of 2009. I loved it. My partner's like, it's okay. It turned out to be our number one hit. Awaken Vape is another good one. It's well, first of all, if no one knows what ecto is by now, which it's possible, it's a lemon lime fruit punch, kind of like the one with Slimer on the box, the juice box back. Yeah. It ran from, I think, 1989 to 2001 before they got rid of it. Awaken Vape is a coffee espresso with hazelnut, and I know there's another nut in there.
Let me help you. It's just delicious.
Yeah, it's just delicious. Yeah. There's tobacco in that one. I'm trying to think what else. What's going really well and just made it to the website is called Guavatron. Obviously, there's guava in it and a bunch of other stuff. That's actually really tasty. It's good in cloud sauce, which is our new line for obviously blowing clouds. It's anywhere between 10, 7, 5% of flavoring, and the rest is all VG. I'm not giving anything away. Everybody who's doing a cloud sauce will tell you it's 90% VG, so
right.
I'm not giving anything away. I'm just not giving away my recipes. So there's nothing secret there.
So, and I do know that Phil Busardo, one of his favorite e-liquids is from JuicyVapor.
Yep. What is that called? Tribute.
Tribute. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I forget about that one. I don't like that one. Everybody seems to like it. I don't like, it has lychee in it, and I don't like lychee.
Yeah, that's a very strong flavor. I like the Summer Detox. That was
that's quite good. I've had that one a few times, and I like that one too.
I brought that out to Michigan about 2 years ago, and does everybody know Jay in the community?
Yep.
I gave him a bottle, and I said, here, you can have this bottle, but you have to go to every table and talk how much you like it. Not because I'm asking you that you should like it, just because he fell in love with it. I'm like, just go off and tell everybody. I had everybody coming up to my table for that.
Yeah. And that's how I found out about it, coincidentally. So he did a good job.
Nope. So we got a free bottle of juice, but he really liked it. I mean, I don't want people running around just saying they like something,
right.
But that's called advertising right there. Sure. Have someone run around with true feelings versus the little ones that are just BS.
So these are not vaping related questions, but these are some questions that we like to ask our guests. If there was ever a movie produced about your life, who would play you and why?
Oh, why didn't you guys give me this heads up of all this beforehand?
I guess I was supposed to send you a list.
Who's goofy enough to play me?
Mine has always been Kevin Smith. That is obviously who would play me in a movie. Although he shaved his beard today, and I'm quite disappointed with the way he looks without it.
Yeah, Dagger is in a state of mourning because Kevin Smith shaved his beard up.
What's that kid's name that was in Waiting? Andy... Waiting. Yeah, the kid's my age, and he looks like he's 16.
I don't know. The movie about the guys that worked in the back of a kitchen?
Yeah, he had his own talk show.
Andy Malinakis?
Yeah,
Andy
he played
Milonakis?
me.
I got bees on my head, but don't call me a beef head. Don't make me start singing the theme song. Okay, so Andy Milonakis would play it. Okay, this is the other fun one that we have. You're hosting a dinner party and must invite 3 famous people. They can be either alive or dead. Who would you choose and why?
Well, obviously I'd probably say my grandmother because I've missed her and she's been gone for so long. But that's not who I'd invite to this party.
She just want Grandma to cook for him.
Dude, I miss my grandmother to death. But you know what? If I could sit on a park bench, that would be the one person. But dinner, this brings a whole new meaning. Whatchamacallit, Robin Williams would definitely be there.
Okay, yeah.
Kevin Kline would definitely be at that table. I'm picking people who make me laugh.
Yeah.
And probably Louis C.K.
Yeah, Louis is hilarious. And he's hilarious in that very uncomfortable way, too. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like his comedy, because it's very real. So what kind of people do you dislike?
Oh, that's easy. Fake people. People that say one thing and do another.
Yeah.
Two-faced. 14 to 15-year-olds when you're gaming because they don't shut up.
I can sympathize with that one, buddy. That's when you
the
add
bragger,
them to the ignore list.
The list gets long, but I get along with just about everybody. I can only put up with it for so long, but just people that complain about their lives but do nothing to change it.
Sure.
Change is a hard thing, but you do it every day on small levels. Take it to the next level. Keep working on it, because someone told me 20 years ago, the people who I hang with will not be the same people I hang with in 5 to 10 years. And I looked at him, I said, you're absolutely insane. That's never going to happen. But you start hanging out with positive people, your life will change to the better. Even though your mom and dad or your family might come down on you, stick with it. Good things will always come if you're around positive people. So negative people, those are probably the people I hate the most.
I would agree with that.
I would say hate. Hate's a strong word.
Yeah,
I dislike them.
Yep. Yeah, I'm the same way. I try not to hate anybody because there's certain people where when you hate them, you've allowed them to win at that point because they've had that impact on you, that negative impact. What was the last gift that you gave someone?
A car.
Wow.
Well, actually, money towards a car.
Man.
Was it a gremlin?
Oh, and thank you, by the way.
I was just going to say,
that was a helping hand. That was more of a loan. That's really the last thing I gave somebody. I don't know. I give so much. It's hard. Sometimes it's in the form of like something that tangible. Sometimes it's advice. I'm trying to think what that would be. Really, I really wish you would have gave me some heads up on this.
I promise if we do this again, I'll give you a list of questions ahead of time.
And if anybody has a question for Anthony, feel free to call at 347-327-9172.
Let's go ahead and put the phone line screen up here for a second.
The phone lines are now open.
Anthony is open and waiting for your question.
Mm-hmm. So, Dane, we have a story here. Let's go ahead and move to that story.
We do. There was a story recently in the Huffington Post about a general practitioner doctor who has actually turned to vaping. We'll have a link up probably in the description of the replay of this show for this particular link, but I just took a little excerpt out of here that the doctor spoke, which I thought was really, really on point, especially nowadays. Here's what he goes on to say. He says, the arguments against vaping are at present both spurious and hypocritical. They are as substantive as those regarding brain tumors from smartphones. Those making them should admit that the only offense it causes is that to their own sensitivities. So for once, let us resist the temptation to interfere with what is a seemingly harmless activity whose only crime is that it looks awfully a lot like another more harmful one. Let us trust the individual on this. Instead of anticipating harm in a totally unscientific way based on no evidence, let us wait for such evidence to be produced, and then let us democratically and rationally assess the risk before defining what is in the best interest of society. As every action has a reaction, so every pleasure has its drawback, but society cannot progress if we adopt an amateurish health and safety ethos to every innovation that arises. We need to get away from this reflex "we can't" attitude to a more embracing "why can't we?" I thought those words were absolutely spot on, especially nowadays with all of the misinformation that's put out in the media and all over the place, and even from the medical community. And here's one of their own saying that it's not to be demonized the way it has been.
And that's one of the things that impressed me with that article as well, Dane, because this guy is a GP, correct? He's a general practitioner.
Right.
And so he's in that industry. And this is something that he's chosen to do. And he puts basically, it comes down to the individual. And this is kind of a sea change. We're going into another article here. And both of these have kind of a positive bent on them. Enough is enough. It's time to stop using the same old excuses for this product and realize that the bottom line here is that, this is taking money out of the pockets of big tobacco. And, at the risk of sounding like a conspiracy theorist, it ultimately may end up taking money out of the pockets of the healthcare industry as well.
Right.
You have to remember that because you have this huge amount of people that are still smoking heavily, that's creating more business for the healthcare industry as well. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's just an observation. So this second article here is from the New York Daily News. Go ahead with that one, Dane.
Right, and it's basically a follow-up of, there was a gentleman, Constantinides in New York, who was proposing the flavor ban on e-liquids. And they always lean back on the argument that it's a gateway for teens and that it increases the amount of teen smoking, and the uptick in teen usage in electronic cigarettes is on the rise. And this was an interesting story, almost a rebuttal. Again, we'll have the link in the replay with this as well. And I thought this was an interesting part of this story. In a 2013 survey of 1,300 college students, only one respondent reported trying e-cigarettes before smoking the conventional kind. It didn't seem as though it really proved to be a gateway to anything, said the lead researcher. Consistent with that observation, the NYTS and the National Youth Risk Behavior Survey both show that smoking among teenagers fell as vaping rose. Although there have been claims that the electronic cigarette is acting as a gateway to smoking in young people, notes a recent review in the Journal of Addiction, the evidence does not support this assertion. Regular use of electronic cigarettes by non-smokers is rare, and no migration from electronic cigarettes to smoking has been documented. So these are the types of pieces I like to read. And in my own mind, I wonder if Constantinides himself picks up the copy of the New York Daily Times and reads the same article. Chances are, I would imagine that's probably slim, but hopefully he can take a look in there and see that there is real scientific, refutable evidence to all of the ridiculousness that he spewed a week ago.
Yeah. But again, this is getting back to the same old tired rhetoric of e-cigarettes as a gateway to smoking analogs, which, there's no substantive proof for that. There hasn't been any.
Right.
When they have done studies, they've done studies of smokers, okay? They haven't studied people that never did either. And they picked up an e-cigarette and used it and then ended up buying cigarettes. They've always done studies of dual users and determined that not only are they ineffective for somebody who's trying to get off conventional cigarettes or analogs, but they're also a gateway because that person goes back to smoking. When you get somebody who's never inhaled a cigarette and you give them a vaporizer and it's got a pleasant flavor to it, it smells good in the air, plus they get that nicotine, you know, I don't think it's going to cause them to want to smoke. Maybe there needs to be a study on that, Dane. I don't know.
Right, I agree.
I don't
and
think
that's
it would
an
be
important
negative.
distinction is the non-dual user, the person who has neither smoked nor vaped. And I think that's an important segment for medical journals to do research and study on, because then once and for all, that can dispel all of these fear-mongering rumors that our kids are going to start picking up e-cigarettes just because they're there.
Yeah. Would you agree that the tone has kind of changed to some extent, though, as far as the media and the way they're presenting these things? Because now they're starting to question it. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they're starting to question things.
Yeah, you're starting to see a slow and subtle, but a change nonetheless, and I think that's a good thing. We all knew that once this legislative fight started, and once all of the negativity about e-cigarettes started to come into the media, we knew that it was going to be a marathon and not a sprint. We understood that, but it's nice to see that subtle shift start to take place. Obviously, it's not as fast as we would like, with deeming regulations basically hanging over our head like a basket full of elephants, but at least there are subtle changes, and even some lawmakers who see the merits of electronic cigarettes as opposed to patches and gums and things like that, and medication that doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jeannie brings up an interesting point in chat. She says most smokers who try vaping don't want to quit. Well, you know what? We've noticed that, but I've noticed this personally, especially with some of my younger friends that smoke. If I try to get them set up with a vaporizer, and even if it's something that is reasonably discreet, and they're in a social situation, they're out with their friends, there's still a little bit of a stigma associated with using an electronic cigarette amongst smokers. They don't always have, a favorable viewpoint of it. They may look at you as, that's weird, that's bizarre, you're using that water vapor thing. So especially for somebody who's younger and relatively impressionable, or what their peers think can influence them, it's difficult. And I do believe, and Dane, we talked about this a little bit last week, you have to commit to it to a certain extent in order for it to be successful.
Right, yeah, you really do. And you have to commit to a certain amount of time before it really starts to become effective. I'm always interested, too, in products that actually push an end game to vaping as well. And I know we had done a story initially in one of our earlier shows about the Cosmo e-cigarette, and I thought that was a great product just from that standpoint alone, that those people that wanted an end game out of vaping actually had it and could monitor their way through the process.
Yeah. Now, Anthony, what was your experience when you stopped smoking and you started vaping? Was it a cold turkey thing, or was it something that you struggled with?
I did the opposite of everybody. I did cold turkey to quit smoking because everybody around me was quitting smoking, and I said, if they can do it, I can do it. And a year later, I found myself vaping.
Yeah.
After I was a non-smoker, and I got to meet Ed and got to join the Windy City Vape Club, and this got good. They used to pass this flavor around and said, here, try it. And I think it was like 18, and I was like, I thought my lungs were going to rip out of me. And I worked my way up to 18 and then stayed at 12 for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
Just recently I got down to like 4 or 6.
Yeah, and that's pretty interesting, too, that you say that, because, Ed, it's weird. My sister smokes cigarettes, and she's still, I think she smokes a pack or a pack and a half a day. And every time I hand her even something like a K-Fun at 10 watts, when she takes an inhale, she says it's incredibly harsh, and basically she doesn't know how to vape. Have you ever noticed that with people? I mean,
I noticed that with myself
when
I first started vaping. She's not used to that really heavy, wet feeling.
Yeah.
And it makes her cough. And I've had other people that I've started, it's like, that will pass. You remember when you first started smoking, could you smoke a whole cigarette without coughing?
No, but the strange thing is, like when I started vaping, I had been smoking some very strong cigarettes, the ones from Indonesia, the cloves, and I switched over to vaping, and it was, it wasn't any struggle. I think I was on 18 back then.
Okay.
But it's very strange that she had that observation. Basically she had to learn how to vape, and I think that it was kind of a barrier of entry for her, which surprised me because to me cigarettes has always been harsher. They've always been harsher.
Can you recall that when she used it, if she did a direct lung inhale when she?
No, she was doing a mouth to lung. But
okay.
It was still affecting her that way, and I don't know if it was a flavor. Maybe she wasn't used to it, but yeah, very strange.
Maybe your sister just hates you and she doesn't want to deal with it.
That's very possible. Do
you remember what the ratio was?
Yeah.
What the ratio of BGBG?
The ratio of juice was 70-30. It was 70. I'm sorry, it was 30-70. So it's 30 PG, 70 VG.
Okay.
Okay. I was going to say, if it was a higher PG, I could see maybe something like that.
Right, because of the throat hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things we want to talk about tonight is vapor fatigue, and this is something that is, I've struggled with on and off here. Maybe you get a new e-liquid and it just tastes incredible to you for a few days, and then inevitably it starts to change. You might think it's wicking or the build that you've got it on, but the taste is definitely different. A recent article from the Ashtray blog, which is an excellent site over in the UK, chronicled this issue in detail a few days ago. Some people call it vapor's tongue. Some call it flavor fatigue or vapor fatigue, but I'm sure all of us have experienced it at one time or another.
Yeah, absolutely true, myself included. And I looked it up, and the term vapor's tongue, or sometimes called vapor's fatigue, is used to cover a wide range of taste-related ailments, from going off a single individual flavor that you used to like, or losing taste for all foods and drinks. While the first example is far more common, the second example is potentially more serious, with causes including dehydration, vitamin deficiency, or even illness. In most cases, though, the condition is temporary and soon resolves itself. Although we shall see, and I'm sure most people have seen, there are quite a few things you can do to speed up the return of your taste buds.
This is a picture of taste buds right here for those who don't know.
And your tongue is covered with anything from 2,000 to 10,000 taste buds, or if you want to get fancy, gustatory caliculi. Ooh, boy, that's a mouthful right there. If you're at the upper end of the scale, 10,000 taste buds, you'll be known as a super taster. Thank you. And can confidently consider a career in tea, wine tasting, or e-juice reviewing, which I guess that eliminates me. The difference in people's taste buds might also explain why some people prefer steep liquid and other people find it hard to tell the difference. These cells in your taste buds are on a constant cycle. They're dying and then regrowing. This cycle can take anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks. Anthony, have you ever experienced this issue? You get an e-liquid that you really like, you really start vaping it heavy, and then after a week or two, you're like, wow, I can't even taste this anymore.
I have some bad news for James.
Uh-oh.
Serial killer.
Yeah.
I got a bottle, vaped it for about 4 days at DCC.
Uh-huh.
Came back, couldn't taste any liquid, had to switch up because I couldn't taste it. Went out and bought 4 bottles. A few of them got stolen from family and friends, but my last bottle, I every 4 days I'll vape that stuff straight, and I can't taste anything. Yeah. And then I don't know what to get because it's so good. Everybody needs to get it. It's not my juice. I don't care. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's made in a bathtub. Who knows? But it's delicious.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's made is all I'm trying to say, and I don't care. It's tasty.
So you've experienced that, and a lot of times...
I'm going through it right now.
Yeah. So for me, for the longest time, what I would do is I would... Oh, I'm switching to the wrong scene here. Oops. This is behind the scenes stuff. For the longest time, I would either switch flavors temporarily, or I'd vape a bit of unflavored VG just to try to cleanse the palate. When I was out at Vape Blast 2 this year in Texas, and I was suffering from flavor fatigue, T.D. Bowen from Moon Mountain Vapor tossed a bag of candy at me. And I know you're thinking, okay, candy, well, what is that going to do? And there's a lot of different solutions to this that the Ashtray blog actually listed. But what I want to share with you is what's really worked well for me. And this is a candy that Moon Mountain Vapors sells. And it's the best candy under the sun, prevents and cures the symptoms of dry mouth. So I'll preface this by saying I've never been a fan of sugar-free candy, but this stuff is sugar-free, gluten-free, fat-free, preservative-free, certified kosher, made in nut and dairy-free facilities, and made in the USA. So that's a pretty impressive list of accomplishments. It doesn't taste artificial. And you know, the sugar-free candy that you get, the diabetic candy, typically has kind of a strange aftertaste to it. It's got a slightly sweet, tangy taste to it, and basically it causes your mouth to produce more saliva, which in turn rejuvenates those dried out taste buds that we get after chain vaping. Now, obviously, this is not a replacement for hydration, so let's get that straight right now. Dane, of course, you're familiar with the fact that, you know, if you vape, you must hydrate. Who was it that said that, Green? There was I can't remember the guy's name.
Man, that's
I met him a couple times at different events too, but
that's real old school too.
Yeah.
It really is. And when I was a new vapor and in the Windy City Vapors Club, I heard that a lot. And it helped. It really did, because I am guilty about not hydrating enough when I vape.
Yeah.
I really am.
Yeah, so am I, and that's the thing. This isn't a replacement for hydration, but if you want to get these candies, you can pop one of them, and a few minutes later go back to vaping whatever you vape, and it's going to taste better. And I experienced the same thing with Serial Killer, in particular, Anthony, which was it just sort of lost its luster after a day or so of vaping it, and that's what I've been doing now. I've been popping one of those candies and then going back to it. And like I said, I think it's got a slightly tangy, acidic taste to it that kind of rejuvenates the taste buds. The other methods that you can use if you're experiencing flavor fatigue, you can try a tongue scraper, which I got to tell you is kind of a disgusting experience, especially if you do it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
My water pick has the little thing you put on. Thing is awesome.
Oh, Waterpick has one?
Yeah, Waterpick has like the one with the tongue depressor, and it scrapes it with just water all the way down.
Yeah.
It actually feels really good.
I'll have to get one of those.
I can't do those things. I can't. No, I remember my old dentist, and he was a comical kind of fella, and he was in there doing something with my tongue, and I'm like, he's like, what is it? I'm like, dude, I gag real easy when he touched the back of around my tongue. He's like, man, you'd make a horrible hooker. It's coming from my dentist. I mean, it's hilarious. He was a funny guy. Yeah.
So you could do the tongue scraper. You can switch flavors. Cottonmouth candy. Important thing here is stay hydrated. So that's extremely important. So let's see. The next item that we have here. Some of you may be familiar with the company Blizzard. They make video games. Anthony, are you a gamer at all? Are you familiar with Blizzard?
I've heard of Blizzard, of course.
All right. So this is Zarheim, the community manager for Warcraft. And apparently Zarheim is a vapor. He's been vaping for a year and a half. And let me see here. Yeah, he's been vaping for a year and a half. Of course, Blizzard is the company that makes World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and the Diablo series. He ordered from Smokeless Image, so we have a picture of his order here. And this was a tweet that he made. Apparently he likes tobacco. It looks like he has some Cowboy Country tobacco in 24 milligram and some Desert Joe, which both sound like tobacco flavors to me. And there's a note here. It says, thanks, bring Benediction back. Well, I looked into it, and Benediction is apparently a legendary staff for one of the characters in World of Warcraft. So there you go. He's had a community manager that openly vaped. So that was pretty cool. Another thing that we have here, I believe, here we go. Dane, you've got this one, I believe.
We do. Panic and evacuation at a post office due to cinnamaldehyde. Apparently, the smell of Big Red incites panic, and this is in Houston, Texas, so take it for what it's worth. An article out of the Houston Chronicle said the Humble, Texas U.S. Post Office was briefly evacuated Tuesday when 7 workers were sent to the hospital after a suspicious substance was found in a package at the facility. Oh, no. Police said the substance was later determined to be cinnamaldehyde, an additive used in flavoring electronic cigarettes. It had leaked from a broken package at the post office. The facility was evacuated while, this really makes me laugh, while hazmat crews investigated the substance. Some workers complained of scratchy throats and watery eyes. They were taken to Memorial Hermann Northeast Hospital as a precaution. What can I tell you? You smell a little cinnamon, milk it for a day off.
Yeah, I think, what have we learned from these folks? Apparently the smell of Big Red incites panic.
I can top that story, but nobody went to the hospital.
Go ahead.
Back in 2009, we had a shipment of nicotine come in, and let me tell you, it was higher than 100 milligram, and it came in a big box, and the post office brought it to me wrapped in plastic, and it was like pooling that far into this big thing, like it looked like a trash bag they put around the box.
Wow.
Oh, man, that stuff is so dangerous. You actually really do need hazmat.
Well, no one was harmed. I think they just they got way too much cinnamon in their system after that one.
Yeah, they were temporarily halted due to cinnamon poisoning.
Guess none of them were vapors, huh?
Goes. So everybody knows why their vape mail is late. It's because they're evacuating post offices for cinnamon.
So, everyone, unfortunately, it's that time. It's the time where we must bid adieu to our audience on YouTube and say bonjour to the after show on Quest. I do have a screen here for you guys showing the link to Quest. So, if you look at that, go ahead and go there. You will need to make an account if you don't already have one on vapors.tv, and you can join us for our after-hours show on Quest. We do still have some time on the phone lines. So again, if you want to call up and participate, the after show is again a little bit more casual. So we definitely encourage that. Come on over to vapors.tv/questvaping if you want to find out what happens when vooping goes horribly wrong. So,
oh no.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious about this one because I don't know who is it. Who had the vooping go wrong?
I don't think it was anybody on this show. I mean,
we
may have
I was
had
sitting
that
on the edge of my seat
time,
here for a moment, wondering if it would have been us.
Maybe that was the problem. You're on the edge of your seat. Gotta sit back.
Yeah, that's true. It could go wrong.
So thank you very much, Anthony, for joining us this evening. If you're interested in any of the Nixteria by Juicy Vapor line, please check out www.JuicyVapor.com. And I know you guys are coming out with a new website. Is it going to be the same URL?
You could actually go to JuicyVapor.com over the next almost 3.5 years. Okay. It will take you to Nixteria, or you type in Nixteria and it'll take you to Nixteria. Well, that was stupid. Okay, can we edit that? No, it's a live show, damn it.
Yeah, you're done. You're done.
It's the joys of live.
Plug.
No. That's fine. We're very
freemods.com.
Dane, really appreciate. Actually, you didn't run the phones. TheGreen ran the phones because Dane doesn't know how to run the phones right now.
No, Dane doesn't know how to do
Thank you for running the phones, even though we did not have any callers. Come on, people, don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy. Anthony doesn't bite hard.
Anything you would like to say to the audience in closing here? Anyone?
Yeah, I heard a really cute joke really fast. Okay. How do you keep bears out of your backyard?
How?
Put up a goalpost. Just to kind of round it back to the beginning.
That is a perfect way to close this show.
Oh, well done, sir.
I'm out.
Absolutely well done, sir.
Ed is done. Ed, our man on the street for VaperCon, any final words?
Any final words? If you go to VaperCon, please keep your clothes on.
Oh. All right, everybody. So hopefully we will see you on the after show. Thank you to all of our YouTube viewers. Thank you to our Vapors.tv viewers. We do appreciate you. And we will have some news regarding the giveaway coming up here next show, so stay tuned for that. Have a good night, everybody.
So long.